friends, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing my best and worst books of 2024. I have a pretty large stack of best books, so we're going to be focusing mostly on 6-star books and then anything that I gave below a 3-star this year, which there weren't a ton of books that I gave below a 3-star, but I did have quite a few DNFs. So we're going to start with the best first, of course, but we're going to start with my 6-star reads for the year. So I do have my computer over here because it has my spreadsheet on it so that I can access and reference that as we go along, just simply because I don't own every 6-star book that I have read. So I don't own every 6-star book that I read in 2026, but in 2024, but I do own quite a few of them. So the ones that I do own, I will be holding up. So these aren't really in any particular order. I'm just going to kind of go off of how I pulled them from my book collection, honestly. So the first two that we're going to start with are actually books in the same series, and that is Icebreaker and Daydream. These are the probably smut special editions. So I also have Wildfire in this edition as well. However, it did not get a 6-star. So for me, best books of the year are 6 stars, because I do a 6-star rating system with 0.25 stars in between. So I start at 6 and then I go straight to 5, and then you go to 4.75, 4.5, and so on and so forth. So these were my 6-star books, and I'm going to explain why. So this one is the first book. This is Icebreaker. This is the first book in the series, and this one is following Anastasia and Nate. I really loved the anxiety rep in this, and also like the kind of, I don't want to call it OCD because that's not what it is, but the planning rep in this one. And then this one followed Hallie and Henry, and I absolutely loved this book. Hallie is a bookworm, and Henry we meet in Icebreaker, and he is just a gem of a person. The neurodivergent rep in this one was truly top notch. So that is why these two got those scores. Also, there's a lot of hockey in both of these, and unfortunately for Wildfire, that takes place at a summer camp, so I didn't like that one quite as much. But all in all, this series in itself is a 6-star series, but these were my two favorite in the entire series. The next one that I have is The Winners. We're gonna just talk about that really quick. I'm gonna kind of look at my spreadsheet as well. So The Winners is by Frederick Bachman. This is the final book in the Beartown trilogy. I absolutely love this book. I read it in February. If you want to see like my thoughts on, I will try to remember to like link vlogs and stuff if I actually vlogged any of these. I know that The Winners is in my Can I Trust Brittany vlog from February of 2024. I absolutely love this book. I can't really talk a lot about it just because it is the final book in a trilogy, but it's just as, like, it's way more hard-hitting than the other two books. I will say that I loved Beartown. Us Against You kind of felt like a filler book, but it's really meant to be that way. Like, you have to have the information that's in it in order to read The Winners. But I absolutely love that book. I gave it 6 stars, and it made me cry a lot. The next one I have is The Color Purple. This book is by Alice Walker. It is a classic, and this book actually took me about 3 months to completely get through. This was a really hard read for me, but I really do suggest reading it. It's very hard to read. It's really hard to read. I don't know really how to talk about The Color Purple if you don't know what it's about without ruining it, but it is a portrait in the lives of Black people, and it was a difficult read for sure. Okay, the next book I have is another book that I own, and that is Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver. This is a horror rom-com novel. I really love this book. I do actually need to read, oh, this has a bookmark in it. I wondered where that bookmark went. I do need to read the next book in this series. I do own it. I don't know why this is so like crispy. It's weird. Anyway, I really loved this book. I gave it 6 stars. I know some people did not love this book, but I really liked the humor in it. I thought that the smut was fine. Like, I thought it was pretty well written for what it was, and I do plan on reading more by this author. It does, like, I do hear the critique on this book with the way that the with the way that like the trigger warnings and stuff are written. I do hear people when they talk about that, but I really did love this book for what it was worth. The next one that I have on my spreadsheet is Double Pucked. This was a why choose hockey romance between, it was like an, I don't even want to say, I guess rivals to lovers, because I believe that in this one, the two best friends in it, the two male hockey players, are best friends but on rival teams, and the female main character is cheated on at the beginning, not on Paige, but if I remember correctly, she like finds a pair of underwear or something. Her dog has like a penchant for eating underwear, and her dog is chewing on these underwear, and she realizes that they're not hers, and she confronts her boyfriend, and she had bought him like VIP tickets to this hockey game, and she ends up taking them with her when she leaves, and shenanigans ensue. I really enjoyed this book. I do plan on reading more in this series. I also will try to remember to pop up pictures of any books that I don't actually own, so that you can see them. But I really did have a fun time with this book, and I will be reading more by this author, especially in this series, because I believe there are like 4 or 6 books in the series itself. The next one I have is The Exception to the Rule. This one was another hockey romance, I think. And I don't actually remember really anything about this one, so that's not going to be helpful. Let me actually really quick, I'm just going to look this one up really quick just to see what book this is, because then maybe I can give you a better description. I read so many books last year that I won't remember all of them. Oh, okay, Exception to the Rule. This was by Christina Lauren. This was actually a novella, and this was part of the Improbable Meet Cute series. I'm just gonna leave my story graph open next to me as well so that I can remember what I read. So Exception to the Rule. I ended up actually buying this as a novella, like the ebook version of the novella. This one was super cute. This was all of the Improbable Meet Cute novellas take place on or around Valentine's Day. So this one is 2 strangers. There's an accidental email that's sent to a stranger, and it leads to this like relationship, like friends to lovers kind of relationship, where they're pen pals, and the reason that it's even sent is because there's a typo in the email address. This one was just so like wholehearted, and I just loved it. And it's written by Christina Lauren, like I said, so I will be reading more Christina Lauren's backlist in 2025. I really do enjoy their writing. The next one I have is Love Redesigned by Lauren Asher. This is the first book in the Lakefront Billionaire series. So I have read all except the last Dreamland Billionaire series. I really do have the last one on my bucket list. I just felt like in that series we got our 3rd brother in the Dreamland Billionaire series. I thought he was just written really differently in the 3rd book, but I'm going to try that one again. But I did read this one, and I have later somewhere in this stack is the 2nd one in this series. I can't see it at the moment, so I can't just like grab it, but when I get to it we'll talk about it. So this one is in a friends to enemies to lovers romance. No, friends to enemies to friends to lovers romance. So we are following Julian and Dahlia, and I really enjoyed this. There is, I will say, like for triggers, I guess there is some like childbearing issues. Like, this book does not end with like them getting married and having kids. There's a pretty decent amount of talk around fertility issues in this book, and so be aware of that. But I really love this book. This is following Julian and Dahlia as they are renovating a house together. So Dahlia is, I believe she was like a house decorator on a really popular TV show. Think like what's on like HGTV. And Julian has like the blueprints for this old house, and they end up renovating it together. So I really loved this. The banter in this was pretty top tier. I do want to reread this at some point so that I can annotate, because I didn't read this physically the first time that I got it. So I do want to annotate this one, but I thought this was really fun. And at this point, anything Lauren Asher writes, I will read. So, all right, the next one I have is Asher Parker Doesn't Care. This was the second book after Delilah Green. Wait, no, Asher Parker doesn't. It's not Doesn't Care, because it's Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I put this in wrong. Asher Parker Doesn't Fail. So Asher Parker Doesn't Fail is the second book in, I don't even remember what this series is called, the Bright Falls series. So we have Delilah Green Doesn't Care. I don't know why I put it in my spreadsheet incorrectly. It's okay. But Delilah Green Doesn't Care follows Delilah Green, and she is, there's like a bet between her and her stepsister Astrid about whether Delilah can get Astrid's best friend Claire to fall in love with her or not. That's how that one goes. I gave that one 6 stars in like 2023 when I read it. But then last year I read Asher Parker Doesn't Care, or Doesn't Fail, I'm sorry. And this is following Astrid. And she is an interior designer. She has a pretty terrible mother. I really enjoyed this book. I didn't think that I would, because I found Astrid to be pretty insufferable in Delilah Green Doesn't Care. But Brittany and Brianna both were like, you need to read this. Brianna from 4 Paws in a Book. They were like, you need to read this. You're going to love it. And I gave this one 6 stars as well. So I did listen to the audio for this one, but I really did enjoy it. The next one I have is Love at First Set. This was part of a vlog that never came to fruition, along with the next one. This was a book that was given to me actually by Brianna from 4 Paws in a Book. And this one is about our female main character she works at a gym, and her dream is to someday open her own fitness center, her own gym. Her best friend, his family owns the gym that she works at, and she is invited by her best friend, who is a male. So the best friend is gay, and then she I believe is bisexual, but she may be a lesbian. I think she's bisexual though. There is awesome LGBTQ rep in this, but I just can't remember if everyone is like I know that the sister of the best friend is bisexual. So the female main character is invited by the male main character to his sister's wedding, and she ends up going, and she has a pep talk with someone in the bathroom and doesn't realize that it is her best friend's sister. Shenanigans ensues and a love story unfolds. Okay, I loved this book. I actually ended up buying it on my Kindle after reading it as an audiobook, because I was like, I have to own this. I do want to own it physically so I can fully annotate a physical copy of this book. I just really loved it. I just thought it was so cute and it was so heartwarming, and who doesn't love lesbians? Am I right? All right, and then the next one is All the Feels. This one was also a Brianna suggestion for the same vlog that never came to fruition. This book comes after the book, spoiler alert, these books are by Olivia Dade. I really did like All the Feels. I don't remember a ton about this book, so I'm actually going to look it up just to kind of jog my memory. This year, y'all, I'm going to be writing actual things, like actual reviews, so I can remember things. Okay, so this is spoiler alert. I did listen to the audiobook for this one as well. Okay, so this was a contemporary, like, famous person romance. So the main male character is a is an actor and the female main character is a former ER therapist. I did think that this was cute. I gave it 6 stars. I did like all the feels more than I like spoiler alert, but I did give spoiler alert 5 stars when I read it in like 2022. All right, the next one that I have is a book I don't usually talk about on my channel, but because it makes it into the top books, I'm not going to skip it, and that is, but I'm not going to linger on it. So the next book I have on my thing is Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. This is the last book in the Harry Potter series. Every year I do a reread of the Harry Potter series in memory of my mother. Last year was a little bit different, and I'm not really going to talk about it very much. But just know I do a reread of this series every year, and Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows always falls into 6-star category for me, just because I think because it's the end of the books, but also just because that specific book holds a lot of meaning and memory for me. So, moving forward. The next one I have is Funny Story. I will own this book, but this is by Emily Henry. This is her newest book that came out in 2024. This is a ex-fiance's new fiance's ex-fiance to, or ex-boyfriend to roommates to friends to lovers romance, which is very confusing. But essentially our two main characters, our female main character has been dumped right before, the day before, I believe it's the day before her wedding, by her fiance, who has decided that he's actually in love with his best friend, who also has a boyfriend and ends up breaking up with him. So our female main character ends up moving in with our male main character. The main character's name is Miles. I cannot remember what the female main character's name is right now, but it's okay. But they end up, Miles and the female main character end up moving in together, and a love story ensues. That's basically what happens. But I absolutely loved this book. It was way better than Happy Place. I ate this book up from beginning to end. I could not put this book down. I laughed, I cried. It was great. I loved this book. Also, I will read anything Emily Henry puts out, but I have had a couple of duds from her, but this one was a top tier book. The next one I have is Ricochet. This is the second book in the Addicted Calloway Sisters series by Becca and Krista Ritchie. I absolutely love this book. I actually reread this forgetting that I had already read it. We're not going to talk about that, but I absolutely love this book. This book picks up where Addicted to You leaves off, so I can't really talk a lot about it, but essentially it just carries on. So in Addicted to You, which is the first book in the series, we are following Lo and, oh my god, Lo and Lily. Lily and Lauren. So Lily is our main character. Lo or Lauren is our female, I'm sorry, Lily is our female main character. Lo/Lauren is our main main character. They have known each other since childhood. This is like a childhood friends to lovers kind of romance, but they both have addictions. Lily is addicted to sex and Lo is addicted to alcohol, and they are trying to figure out how to not be codependent on each other while also hiding their addictions, while also being in love. And it is hard at times to read as someone who has dealt with addiction, but I absolutely love this story. I think that the addiction representation in it is written really, really well. All right, the next one I do own, and that is Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston? But I loved this book. I loved it. Okay, I own every Ashley Poston book. Unfortunately, one of her books did end up on my like most disappointing books of the year, which will be coming in a new video, in a different video. But this one I absolutely loved, and I do have one more that I have to read. So this one is about Florence, who is a ghostwriter. And she is a ghostwriter for one of the most prolific romance authors. And she's had a terrible breakup and she no longer believes in love, so she has to figure out how she's going to continue writing these romance novels as a ghostwriter while not believing in love. And she has a new editor who she's met, and then she gets a terrible call. There is a lot of death and grieving in this book. So be aware of that. But I do think that the grief in this was written so beautifully. I absolutely love this book. I want to read it again because I did listen to the audio for a portion of this, and I would love to go back so I can annotate this. So that may be on my bucket list for 2025. All right, the next one I also own, and that is Neon Gods by Katie Robert. This is another one that was suggested to me by Brianna from Four Paws in a Book. Again, in that vlog that never came to fruition, I ate this up. First of all, Hades is the new book boyfriend. Okay, I absolutely love this. This is a Hades and Persephone retelling. This entire series, which I don't actually remember what this series is. What is this series actually called? Yeah, I don't remember what this series is actually called, but this is the first book in the series, and it's a modern retelling of Hades and Persephone. It's as sinful as it is sweet. I absolutely love this book. I cannot wait to move on in this series. I will be purchasing more. This was actually gifted. This book itself was actually gifted to me by my friend Kiana for one of my clean day anniversaries. But I ate this up. I will add the rest of these to my wish list, and I actually might not, because I think I'm going to go in like a month or so to Barnes and do a big book haul there, and I'm thinking about picking up the rest of this series. I absolutely love this series. Hades was great, Persephone was great. I thought that the Hades and Persephone story was written really well. Sometimes I feel that Persephone, she's supposed to be pretty innocent as far as like naivete, but I feel like sometimes she's overly sexualized, and I thought it was done really well in this one, so we love it. I may go back and reread this physically. I did try the audio for this, and I ended up listening to it half audio and then reading it half on my Kindle, because Persephone's chapters I read on my Kindle. I could not stand the way she did Hades' voice, like the narrator did Hades' voice. That's a me problem, but I'm probably going to reread this at some point so that I can annotate it. But I absolutely loved this book. I ate it up. All right, the next one I also own, and that is Love Unwritten by Lauren Asher. This is the second book. What is on that? Okay. This is the second book in the Lakefront Billionaires series. It is thicker than the first one, but this one is following Raphael and Ellie, or Eleanor. And we call Raphael Rafa a lot in this book, but Ellie she is a singer-songwriter who has been burned by someone she thought was a friend. She's just had a really hard time in the music industry, and Raphael is a single dad. He's very grumpy, and his son has a disease that makes it so that he is slowly going blind. Ellie ends up becoming Rafa's nanny. So this is a single dad nanny romance, and I absolutely loved this. I loved the dynamic between Rafa and Ellie. I thought it was done so very well. I absolutely loved them together, and I will be rereading this one at some point as well to annotate. I don't know. I just really love Lauren Asher's writing, and I can't wait for the next one in this series. All right, the next one I have is Magnolia Park's The Long Way Home, and the version of this that I have to hold up for you is this gorgeous special edition. So this is the third book in the Magnolia Parks universe, but this is the second Magnolia Parks book. I cannot really talk about this book to you because, like I said, this is 3 books deep. So in this book, like we're really exploring some deeper things. It's a pretty thick book. This is, like I said, this special edition, so it's got this like beautiful end papers, and yeah, it's just, this is like a really beautiful copy of the book. I absolutely love it. My brother bought me this set for Christmas, but I loved this book. I ate it up. Yeah, we're still following Magnolia and BJ. We're just continuing their story. So absolutely loved this book. Cannot wait to do like a mega reread at some point. All right, the next one I have is Part of Your World. This one is by Abby Jimenez, and I really loved this book. If you want to see like my full thoughts on it, that book and the next one on my list, actually, and the next two on my list are in my Reading Kelsey's Favorite Books vlog. I really liked this book. It was very cute. The female main character is a doctor, a surgeon. No, she's not a surgeon, but she's a doctor. And our male main character is a very like small town country-esque kind of boy. This book takes place in Minnesota, which I have been told is a Abby Jimenez like theme because she lives in Minnesota. But I am originally from Minnesota, so I knew like the places they were talking about and like how to pronounce names and things like that. It was so cool. But essentially, the main male character and the female main character meet each other, and the female main character breaks down on her way home through this small town after a funeral, I believe, and then she starts going out to visit him. There is a reverse age gap in this, so she is older than he is by, I believe, like 10 or 12 years. I absolutely love this book. It was so cute, and also there's a baby goat. So if that doesn't make you want to read it, I don't know what will. The next one I have is Where Sleeping Girls Lie. This one did sit between 5 and 6 stars for me for a while, but I keep thinking about it, so I did decide that it is 6 stars because I just keep thinking about it. So this is the second book by Faraday Abike Iyameda. I never say her name correctly, but she wrote Ace of Spades. I read Ace of Spades, I believe, in 2023. I think maybe 2022, something like that. Absolutely loved it. Ate it up. This is another YA thriller. This takes place at a predominantly white institution, or a PWI, and our main character is black, and her friend goes missing, and no one really wants to help her. So that's what this is. So there's a lot of racial stuff talked about in this. This is a very political book. I absolutely love this book. Ate it up. This one is also in my Reading Kelsey's Favorite Books vlog. I did listen to the audio for this. I do own the audio for this, and I probably will be rereading it at some point so that I can annotate, but I absolutely love this book, and I did buy my copy of this from my indie bookstore. So absolutely loved it. The next one I have is Love in Other Words. This was also in my Reading Kelsey's Favorite Book vlog. This is by Christina Lauren. I loved this book. This one is hard to read. There is parental death in this one. It's a... Is it Friends to Lovers, I think? And yeah, this one sits with me sometimes when I think about it, because there's... the female main character, her mom dies in this book, and so it was pretty heavy read, but I really did enjoy it, so I can't wait to own it on my shelf. Alright, the next one I have is Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I have read this book before. I read it in, not the year it came out, I don't think, because I can't think this book came out in 2018. Yeah, this book came out in 2019. So I read this in 2022, I think, originally, when the show was being released, which is why I read it then, and that's why it says now a streaming series, because there is a Hulu show. No, an Amazon Prime show for this book. And I do suggest reading it or watching it after you read the book. I will say that I think I prefer the book more, like as far as the audio goes, because I think that the audiobook captured Daisy's voice to me better than the actress that they picked for the show, but I thought that the show was fine. This, I 100% say to read it with the audiobook. The first time I read this, I did read it physically, because it is written in like interview form, because someone is interviewing Daisy Jones and the Six, which is Daisy Jones, and then the Six is like the band that she toured with, and they are interviewing them to write a book, and it's all revealed to you in the end, like who is writing this book, but it was brilliant. I did read this, like I said, the first time with my eyes, and I did give it, I think, 5 stars. Then I reread it with the audio, 6-star book. The full cast audio, absolutely immaculate. All right, we're getting to the end, friends. The next one I have is Take My Hand. This is by Dolan Perkins Valdez. This was an old book of the month book. Like, I've had this book for literally years. Yeah, this is a book of the month from May of 2022. I don't even get book of the month anymore. I might go back to book of the month. I kind of miss her, you know what I mean? But this one was amazing. This book was so good, and I didn't think I would like it because it is historical fiction, and I'm not a historical fiction girly. I did immersion read this, so I did read it with the audio and the physical book. There were some times where it got really heavy where I would just listen to the audio while I diamond painted to kind of give myself a break, but also listen to it. I loved this book. This book, I don't even know really how to talk about this book, but you're following two timelines. It says a searing, compassionate new novel about a young black nurse's shocking discovery and burning quest for justice in post-segregation Alabama from the best-selling author of Wench. I will tell you this, I will be reading this author's backlist. I don't know what other books she's written other than Wench, but I will be looking it up because I do want to read more by her. But you're following two timelines. So you're following a timeline in the past, which is Montgomery, Alabama, 1973. And then I believe you're also following like a 2007 timeline. 2016 timeline in Memphis, Tennessee. So, this is inspired by true events, but it talks about like Planned Parenthood and the epidemic of black women and birth control. I will say this is heavy. Please look at your triggers. There is like forced sterilization in this, and it is hard to read, but it's history and we don't want to repeat history, even though that seems to be happening. So read this. I feel like this is probably like a banned book at this point, but I absolutely love this book. All right, I have 3 more books, friends. Well, 4 technically, but I'm gonna hold up 2 together. The next one I have, is Hexed by Emily McIntyre. This is the newest book by her. Mine copy is really shiny because I have the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. I made sure to get this as soon as I could. It came out 3 days before my birthday, and when I went birthday book shopping, I made sure that I got this because look, it's just gorgeous. Anyways, this is the last and final, the 6th and final book in the Never After series. If you don't know what the Never After series is, and you've been on my channel for a while, I don't know why you wouldn't know what this series is, but if you are new here, I will tell you what it is. So the Never After series is a fairy tale retelling series written by Emily McIntyre, where the villains win. They are the ones with the love story. So we have Hooked, which is the other difference is that these are contemporary dark romances, so there's no magic in them. They are set in our world. There's no like magic or anything like that, but there are Easter eggs throughout this, little nods to the original story that she was inspired by. So in this series we have Hooked, which is Peter Pan, Scarred, which is Hamlet / The Lion King if you like your Disney. We have Wretched, which is Wizard of Oz. We have Twisted, which is Aladdin. We have Crossed, which is Hunchback of Notre Dame, and then we have Hexed, which is The Little Mermaid. So I hope that was 6. So I have read at this point I have read all of them except Twisted, and Crossed and Hexed are my top tiers. I did really love Hooked as well, but I only give it 5 stars. It didn't get a 6. So I absolutely love this one. This was beautiful. We are following in this one Vanessa, and I don't think his name's not Eric, it's Enzo. And Enzo is set to marry Vanessa's cousin who like saved his life, and of course he ends up falling in love with Vanessa instead. But Vanessa works for her uncle, her uncle Trent, which is, what is her name? It's not Ariel. Her cousin's name is not Ariel. Aria, maybe? I'm trying to see what this lady's name is. I think her name is actually Aria in this. yeah, her name is Arya. So the Ariel character's name is Arya, and then we have Vanessa, who's the Ursula character. I do like that she still used the name Vanessa, since that's like Ursula's alter ego in the movie. But I absolutely love this book. It was top tier. Look how thick that is. Look how many tabs. Hello. And also, kudos to Emily McIntyre, because she wrote this completely while doing chemo. She didn't know if it would even come out. And I will read anything that this queen writes. I will be reading all of her backlist stuff as well, because I know she has some other contemporary romances. This book honestly holds such a special place in my heart, and I can't wait until the rest of the series, because I have the Hooked collector's edition. I can't wait till the rest of the series comes out in that collector's edition. All right, the next two that I have, these go together. So one of these I did read in 2024. The other I actually did not read in 2024. I read it in 2023, but because of the St. Martin's Press boycott, I couldn't talk about it in 2023, and that is Divine Rivals and Ruthless Vows. So I'm going to sing the praises of these books right now, because in 2023, Divine Rivals was the tie for top book with the first Magnolia Parks. And then, and I absolutely love this book. And in this one, we're following Kit and Iris. Roman and Iris. Kit is Roman's last name. So we are following Roman and Iris. I absolutely loved, is it Roman Kit? What is it? Iris Winnow. Yes, and Roman Kit. I believe, though, she calls him Kit a lot in this, so that's how I'm going to refer to him, because most people either call him Kit or Roman Kit, and that's just a lot to say. So we're following Iris and Kit in this, and they are rivals to, this is a rivals to lovers. It's not really enemies to lovers, but they are rivals on a newspaper. They want the same spot, and they end up going, there is a war between the gods that is happening, and they end up going on to, well, Iris ends up leaving to go onto the front lines to be a war correspondent, and Kit ends up following her, and it's just beautifully written. So I did read this, absolutely loved it. I fell in love with their love story in this one in 2023. And then I do read this in my bucket list-a-thon vlog, where I do a 24-hour challenge, and this was the first book that I read in that video. This is the second and final book. I really do love Rebecca Ross. Like, I love her writing, and I love that she writes mostly duologies. I think she writes a few trilogies as well, but she writes standalones and duologies for the most part. I will say this. Most people that liked this one did not like this one. And here's what I'm going to say about that. Divine Rivals, you come for the romance part. These are fantasy romance. I don't know that I would call these romantasy. I might call this one romantasy, because it does focus more on the romance. This one is not romantasy. This one is heavier on the fantasy. So this one you come for the romance. This one you come for the fantasy, because actually for most of this book, they are separated, because this book picks up where this book leaves off. I think there's a 2-week time span between the two, and I ate them up. I loved them all. I loved both books. I will be rereading these physically at some point so I can annotate, because these books deserve to be annotated and displayed. I will be also seeing if I can find the UK editions of these covers, because I prefer those for display purposes. But I absolutely loved both of these books. This is a 6-star series for me, where actually both books collectively are 6 stars. I absolutely love this book. I will sing the praises of these till the end of time. Okay, and then the last book on my list is How My Neighbor Stole Christmas. This was a Christmas book that I read. I was actually told by Brittany to read it. I was really on the fence, because I was seeing very mixed things about this book. But this is a rom-com Grinch retelling, and I ate it up. I absolutely love this book, honestly. It was so funny. They break the fourth wall a lot, where the narrator interacts with characters in the book, and I just thought it was done so well. I also did listen to the audio for this. I kind of did half and half, where I would read some on my Kindle because it's on Kindle Unlimited, and then I would listen to some. And honestly, the audiobook is such a fun time. So also Candy Cane Smut, which I didn't think was a thing that I wanted to read about, but I thought it was done really well. So those are all of my best books of the year. I don't actually own any of my worst books of the year, so we're going to go ahead and talk about those really quick. So these are all books that I gave 2.75 stars or below. I will tell you what I gave them or if I DNF them. So the first one that I have is Knotted. This was a 2.5 star read for me. I did not like this book. This is a dark cowboy romance, and I thought it was dumb, to be honest. I felt like the beginning we got a scene that I think was supposed to be traumatic, but I know it was supposed to be traumatic, but I didn't care. Honestly, like, I said that I was traumatized by this book because it didn't traumatize me. There's a scene in the beginning of this. Please read your triggers, because there are triggers for like SA and stuff like that, but this book in particular, the SA scene that happens in the beginning of the book was told from his point of view, which was crazy to me, and I just felt like it would have been more impactful if it was told by her point of view. I am a dark romance girly. Like, I love dark romance, and this one did not hit for me at all. The next ones that I have 5, and these were all 2-star reads for me. So the first one was Rosie and the Dreamboat. This was part of the Improbable Meet Cute series. This was written by Sally Thorne. I don't really have a lot to say about this book. I thought it was dumb. I didn't really understand the ending of it. It is a novella, but I think I've just figured out Sally Thorne is not for me. I've read one other book by her, which was The Hating Game, and I didn't like that book either. So I've just decided that Sally Thorne is not, she's just not a person that I should read, but 2 stars. Next one I have is What the Hex. I don't remember who it's by, but I will post a picture to the side. This was a, like a witchy book. I had it on my Audible. I think it was part of my Audible premium subscription. I listened to it during Face Off weekend for Amazing Readathon. Did not like it. They made some really stupid jokes. Like, they made a joke about a Ouija board. They said something about, I don't even remember what they said about it, but it was stupid, and I didn't care about this book. I hated it. I didn't like it. 2 stars. The next one I have that's 2 stars actually really made me sad that this was 2 stars. I thought it would be better for me than this, and I might retry this book at some point because I really wanted to like it, and that is The Book of Longings. This is a historical fiction book that is based on the life of Jesus, and I really wanted to love this book. I actually have owned this book since it came out in like 2018, 2020, something like that. I bought this book when it came out, and I'm thinking about retrying it and reading it physically to see if maybe it was the audio that didn't do it for me. I really wanted to love this book, and I just didn't, and it made me sad. Next one I have is Cold Sweat by Vera Valentine. This is a smut book about the Kool-Aid Man. And it was dumb. And he does say, "Oh yeah," when he finishes. And it tastes like Kool-Aid. So, I think they call it Flavor Aid in the book, but copyright. Am I right? So, yeah. It wasn't great. Like, it wasn't the worst thing I ever read, but I gave it 2 stars. The next one I have, or the last 2-star book that I have for 2024 was The Perfect Gift. This was a buddy read with my friend Vanessa. She asked if I wanted to read it with her, and I said sure. This was a Christmas erotica. Oh my god. It was about a man and his wife who went to a cabin for like a getaway. The wife is frustrated because they have done no sexy things since getting there, and then they see 2 lumberjacks coming through the snow, and it's basically just like all a setup. I didn't really see the point in this book, so 2 stars. I didn't love it, to be honest. All right, now we jump from 2 stars down to our 1.25 stars. So the first one I gave 1.25 stars was To Bleed a Crystal Bloom by Sarah A. Parker. I will be reading When the Moon Hatched by this same author this year, and I'm hoping that that one goes better for me because so many people love When the Moon Hatched. To Bleed a Crystal Bloom was supposed to be like a Rapunzel retelling. And listen, I was vibing with it for a while, and then the love interest that's supposed, like the person that's supposed to be the love interest also has raised her since she was 2 and is supposed to be a father figure, and it gave me the ick. I did finish it, like reading it, because it was for a book club that I was doing, a Patreon book club that I was doing that doesn't, where I'm not doing anymore. But honestly, if it hadn't been for a book club, I would have DNF'd it. I did not enjoy it. It was icky to me, and that's all I'm going to say. The next one I gave 1.25 stars was The Teacher by Frida McFadden. This was the same thing. So this one made me feel gross, but it's supposed to. My big problem with this book, this is a spoiler. So I will put a spoiler tag here because I will watch this back. So to editing me, spoiler tag this. This is a spoiler, but I have to spoil it in order to tell you why I didn't like this book. So this book is about a teenage student who supposedly has an affair with her teacher. That teacher gets fired, and then she ends up having an actual affair with another teacher. Fine. We are following 2 POVs. We are following the teacher's wife, who also is a teacher at this school. So he is an English teacher and the wife is a math teacher. So we're following her point of view, and then we're also following the student's point of view. That was fine and great. I understood that that was supposed to make you uncomfortable. There's a lot of grooming in this book, so that's that it did what it was supposed to do. Here's why I hated it. We got 2 endings, y'all. We got one ending that was very like women empowerment. The teacher ends up getting killed, I think by the wife, if I remember correctly, left in a grave, all this stuff. But then we got an epilogue. The epilogue is what pissed me off, okay? Again, there's a spoiler tag, so skip this if you don't want to listen to it. But the second ending, so throughout this book, you know that the female teacher, the math teacher, is having an affair with a man that she met at a shoe store. He worked at the shoe store. That man is actually a student at her school. She just doesn't teach him. Goodbye. I was pissed, okay? That pissed me off. So 2 stars to 1.25 stars. It wasn't even 2 stars. Then I had one 1-star book, and I'm going to explain why this is a 1-star book. This was an arc called Keep Your Friends Close. This was a thriller arc. I really vibed with this book until about 60% through, and then psychosis was used as a plot device, and I don't like that. Don't use mental health as a plot device. Absolutely not. It disgusted me. It pissed me off. So I finished it. I hate read it because an arc, but 1 star. And I don't usually hate read things. I would usually have just DNF'd it, but since it was an arc, I wanted to make sure that I finished it. Then we have my DNFs. I'm not really going to talk about these very much because I don't remember much about any of them. Alright, so if I remember things about these books, I will briefly like give you a synopsis about what they are. But I honestly, like, even looking at the actual list, I don't remember really anything about some of these other than like what the book is, like what the genre is or whatever. So the first one I have is Never by Jessa Hastings. This was a Peter Pan retelling. I know she's writing like a whole series with this. This was not good. We were going to do it as a buddy read, me, Kelsey, and Reni, because we love Magnolia Parks, which she also wrote. And this one was not the vibe. I will not be continuing this series. I didn't even finish Never, and I do own it. So if I ever decide to finish it, I might. The cover of it is really pretty, but the book itself was a dud. Behind the Net is a hockey romance. I didn't like this book. If I remember correctly, the main character was super whiny, and I just didn't care. I might at some point try this one again. I know this one is pretty beloved, but I did not like it. The next one I have is Sin Bin. So I remember this one. This was also a hockey romance. I actually did enjoy this one, except that I ended up DNFing it because I'm not a huge pop culture person in my books, especially when you are specifically naming things. So there was a lot of mention of Netflix and the show You in particular. That was a thing that both of our main characters had in common, was that they both loved this show. The amount of times that it was mentioned irritated me, and I just couldn't do it. Autopsy of a Fairy Tale, I really wanted to like this one. I was buddy reading this with Brittany and Laura, and we ended up, well, I think Laura finished it, might have given it 3 stars, but Brittany and I both ended up DNFing it. This was supposed to be like CSI meets fairy tale retellings. This one was supposed to be Beauty and the Beast. I got what she was trying to do, but I didn't care, so DNF. The next one I have is Long Shot by Kendi Ryan. I actually love Kendi Ryan. Her other series that's like about divorce. This one was a dud. First of all, you need to write better trigger warnings, in my opinion. I don't know that that's a Kendi Ryan problem or a publisher problem, but I was not warned that there was forced pregnancy in this book, so I'm warning you that there's forced pregnancy. I apologize if lighting or anything has changed. My battery died. But like I was saying, there was no warning of forced pregnancy in this book. And there is warning that there's DV. I see a lot of reviews talking about the heaviness around the DV that's in this book, and I think that that's great. But no one anywhere have I seen people talking about the forced pregnancy that's in this that does result in a baby, and that's gross to me. First of all, if that is part of the DV problem in this book, that's fine. But what I was upset with was that there was no warning to it. So because I got no warning, I DNF'd it. At some point, I might try this series again, because up until that point, I didn't hate it. I actually was enjoying it up until that point. But the fact that we're not warned that he's not a main character necessarily, but he is the main female character's like ex-fiance. Sorry, that's my laptop cord. And he ends up just like not wearing a condom or poking holes in a condom, something. But he ends up making it so that she is forcibly impregnated, and that's gross, and it needs to be warned against. So I'm putting it here because I've seen no one else talking about this specific thing. And while some people may be like, this is a small thing, as a DV survivor, it is not. So DNF'd that. The next one I DNF'd was My Clarity. This was like a motorcycle romance that I got on Stuff Your Kindle Day. It was stupid, and I didn't care about it, and that's all I know. I don't actually remember why I really DNF'd this one, other than I think it was just dumb. One of Us Is Lying. I ended up DNFing this for the homophobia content in it because I thought it was done terribly. So first of all, there's a right way and a wrong way to write homophobia. And it's okay to write about homophobia and have homophobic characters if you're bringing awareness to it. I just thought this one was done really badly. More Than Candy Corn. This was a Stuff Your Kindle Day smutty Halloween book, and it was just dumb. Satan's Affair. This one I tried because people had told me that even though I had DNF'd, what was it that I DNF'd? Haunting Adeline, which is where we meet Sibby, who is the main character of Satan's Affair, that I may like Satan's Affair because it's following Sibby and not Adeline. Zayd does make an appearance in Satan's Affair, but I found Sibby to be really insufferable. She is supposed to be like a child, very childlike. I just thought I didn't like it. So I have one more book by this author that I need to try to read because I actually own it on my shelf. But this may just not, H.D. Carlton just may not be an author for me. And then the last one that I DNF'd for the year was Spookily Yours. I wanted to love this book. I did. And I don't actually remember why I didn't like it. But I didn't. And I wanted to, and I'm sad that I didn't like it. But that's it. That's all of the best and worst books for me for 2024. And yeah, that's all I have. So thank you so much for watching. Leave me some kind of award emoji down below, and I will see y'all in the next one.